Oh, no.
So go to the three pins. Go to the picture at the top, City of Orno, on the middle. Hover over it and click the three dots. And if you go down to pin,
We on the map here.
that should, we'll see, I guess this is.
I do have a screen on the display,
Yeah,
so that's.
But also go to participants and kick it. Sorry.
yeah. So go to.
I did hear a complaint today about the audio.
Not that one.
Nope,
Not that one.
next one down.
Like somebody told me today it was scratchy.
Beautiful, thank you.
Don't report her, I'll tell you later or whatever. Okay.
I don't care.
Okay, so
I just wanna go.
admit everybody in. Looks like Mike's joining us online. Well, Mike, somebody else gets his cookies. It did it again. It admit all at the top.
Thank you. Here's, the city of Orinoco needs to be kicked out because that's the problem.
Why we're the host.
That is us.
Can't. So you gotta make us big screen again, out of the pen.
Can't read it. I've got my glasses on.
Want me to-
Yes, please, I can't see it.
Give it-
I'm sorry, I can't see.
Bear with us as we work through this. I love this mouse. I really hate this mouse. Okay, good jumping around. Daniel, I might have you. Take over here for a second. Nope, that did not do what I wanted. We're just gonna pass this down to Daniel where you're a little closer. And you can make us big and move the participants.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make that full screen. And
I
then
just can't read those tiny words.
close that. Mike, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, you are quiet. So audio, go back to audio.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Mike, can you talk one more time? Just make sure we can hear you again.
Yes. Can you hear me?
There.
I can hear you.
Here you go. That's
Okay,
better.
that's better.
Exit out of that. Just volume on top.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all we got.
The other monitor not working.
The remote. Like college, nobody wants to sit in the front row.
Where's the court?
Yes.
Okay, good evening. It's our December 16th city council meeting. Welcome for those that are here tonight as well as on the Zoom. Thank you. With that, we have a roll call
Mayor Ikorst,
here.
Councilor Pendergrass. Here. Councilor Phillips. Here. Councilor Riceweber.
Here.
Councilor Spring.
Here.
And then we've got Joe Palin here. Mike is online. Kane in the back and Rachel.
Next item is our agenda. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
I'd like to remove the WSB planning and zoning.
I think we'll just table those items if we want to get to it.
Okay. That's fine.
Man, that's a lot, I'm trying to digest. Right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, approved. Next item is our public forum, it's a 3-minute. The 3-minute time limit per person. City Council welcomes, encourages participation from community members. Please keep in mind that your comments are pertinent to city business and must adhere to data privacy rules. No employees' names may be used, so please do not expect action from the council this evening regarding your concerns. To address the city council during public forum, please step up to the podium, state your name, address, and fill out the form that's provided there. and speakers will be recognized only once. You will be timed. Begin speaking when the green card is raised. Yellow indicates you have 30 seconds left, and the red card indicates you have reached your 3-minute time limit and must stop. So with that, the public forum will open at 6:36. So for those that would like to speak to the public forum, step forward. There will be a public hearing after this, but any other subject that you'd like to speak to, you can step to the podium and speak. Second call for public forum.
Can I speak about my taxes?
No, we'll bring that up at the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for asking. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak, public forum? Please unmute. Third and final call for public forum.
Stephen Norland, 845 First Street Northwest. This is in regards to our city sewer and water project. Back 3 years ago, when the phase 1A was proposed, I asked to have numerous times I asked the person responsible for getting the easement agreements, to have it surveyed. And with no luck, it happened. So the project, I forcefully, or I not willingly, because you had us backed in a corner, signed the agreement. And an individual here knows that I came on the very last day, almost the last hour. Okay, I am preparing to sell my home. I need to have that surveyed. It comes down through my driveway. That driveway makes turns 4 different times. So I will, in writing, as the statute states, ask to have every turn of direction, width of the easement, and so on. I will deliver that to City Hall tomorrow. Okay? And I know that there are 81 other homes here, or 80 plus other homes on this phase 1A that have the grinder stations that had to sign the same agreement as I'd like to know tonight, but what your plans are doing with it. After I have a written request to the city, which I can ask at any time, you have 30 days to do something with it. Thank you. Oh, since I still got time, I don't wish to have any city employee come onto my property after it's defined, or any other project that the city chooses to do onto my property other than down that defined easement, which it will be defined.
Third and final call. Public forum. Seeing none, we'll close public forum at 6:40. The next item is our public hearings. Have 3 subjects. Truth and taxation, public hearing, proposed final budget, 425 budget footnote. So we'll pick those entertaining speakers to the first one, and then we'll move to the second one. So I'll open the hearing at 6:41, and our city administrator would like to share some comments first.
Yep. Should click that in. Alright, so this is our annual truth and taxation hearing meeting. For the city of Orinoco. This will be discussing the proposed annual budget and property tax levy. As presented by the city for 2027's, or excuse me, 2026 budget. There we go. So the purpose of this hearing, truth and taxation hearing, required public hearing on the proposed levy tax, kind of explains how the city tax dollars will be used and provide opportunity for public comment before final adoption, which will occur later in tonight's meeting. The levy, which is the amount of taxes that the city is collecting in the budget, is where basically how the city is looking to use those funds. So, excuse me, just kind of a brief overview here, talk about the property tax system. So it all starts with local assessors for Olmsted County doing their assessments on properties, and then kind of ends with the final tax statements at the end of the year. The city itself has no authority to determine what property is taxable. That's up to the county. They make that determination as to what property will be taxed or not. And then again, as a generality, most of the cities in Minnesota property taxes are the main source of revenue. You'll see here, we've got variations of, why do property taxes go up or down? Specifically when they go up, there's a decrease in tax base or lower values, higher levies by the city, county, and school. No new construction, higher than average increase in individual property value compared to other properties in the same jurisdiction. And then a shift in values between property classes. Why they would go down, increase in tax base and higher values. You have a levy that decreases or modest levy increases by the city, county, and school. New construction, which adds growth and new value to the community. You get a decrease or lower than average increase in individual property value, or there's a shift in values between property classes again. So where does our revenue come from? Our revenue comes from a variety of different places. We have charges for service, which are part of our fee schedule. We have property taxes, which is a majority of our property, which you'll see in the next slide, a majority of our revenue. We get revenue from local government aid, state fire aid, things like that. We get revenue from license, permits, fines, interests. We also get revenue from grants, franchise fees, recreation fees, rent and donations, and then special assessments. Those are kind of our main areas of where we're seeing revenue coming in for the city. This shows a breakdown of the 2026 general fund revenues by source. The big one you're going to see there in orange, that is our property taxes. Like I said, that is the majority of our revenue for the 2026 budget, as is with most cities. On the left here, you'll see a breakdown. This is really hard to see on this. I don't know why it's so narrow on the TV screen here. There's a breakdown of the expenditures that are also in the pie graph there. Property taxes are just over 1.6 million. Our federal, state, and aid is just over 200,000. Permits and fees were right around 59,000. Reimbursements, we're looking at 35,000. Interest income is about 10,000. Miscellaneous revenues of about 5,000. Franchise fees of about 7,500. And then transfers in, which is from our water sewer fund, is 216,000, a little bit more. All that equates.
Presentation mode.
I think so.
You come out of that, sometimes that helps.
What'd you say, Daniel?
Come out of the presentation.
Yeah, I'm just.
The display something. Switch.
No, that just switched my view. Technical difficulties, hold on. See if it throws it back into, there we go. So I think it's just something with the plug-in here for the AV. So anyways, that brings us to our total revenues, just over 2 million for the year 2026. So again, you look at the budget, like I said, just over 2 million for the total general fund revenue. The budget reflects growth, inflation, and service demands from the city. being able to support residents and community growth, and focusing on maintaining our core services and infrastructure, and just being able to improve where we're at. This slide may look familiar. This is one that was kind of posted online. This shows, where your tax dollars used. Kind of gives a breakdown of, where these are falling under. The administrative and public works side is a lot of where the tax dollars are going. We're supporting it with administrative staff, public works staff, public facility care and maintenance, planning and engineering services, working on permits, licensing, property records management, our economic development and aid, infrastructure expansion, commercial development attraction, training and reducing outside contractor use as part of this, municipal ordinance and code enforcement, zoning administration and land use management, public relations, and then software improvements, online portals. That's a majority of what we're seeing under the administrative and public works side of our budget. Then we have the safety side of our budget. That's where we have our contract with the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, Orinoco Fire and Emergency Services or first responders, as well as the Emergency Operations Services or EOS, EOC, Emergency Operations Center. Their training, their equipment, apparatus, maintenance and replacement. And then we have streets and roads where we're looking at long-term pavement plan for all the roads here, as well as being able to maintain those yearly outside of the big plan that was put together recently by Stantec. Snow and sand removal, public works equipment and replacement kind of fall into that a little bit as well. And then we get into parks and trails. We've got 50 acres of green space maintenance over 8 different parks. We got general parks repairs, upkeep. We have playgrounds, athletic court improvements, and we're looking to do investments, new paving areas and park trails. And really just kind of the public works machinery and replacement as well. That should have been up with streets and roads. But focusing on building up our parks and trails a little bit because that's something that was asked for this year. So again, this just shows the breakdown of those areas that we were talking about as a visualization, kind of dollar amounts and percentages. Again, you'll see administration in the blue, then orange is public works, and we have streets and roads in the dark green, parks and trails in the light blue, fire and first responder in the purple there, safety in the light green, and then our CIP planning, which is, I think, relatively new this year as we grow into that. We'll talk a little bit later, but that's 12% of our budget breakdown. Again, so we had the revenues, now we have our expenditures. Again, the expenditures match the revenues of just over 2 million. This was something that was included in the preliminary. I brought it back in here. Just kind of shows a breakdown of, these are again with the preliminary numbers we had from September. We can expect these to go down with the work that we've done over the last couple months. Our section on this chart is in red. That's the city's portion of the taxes that the citizens pay for the entire 2026 year. Again, this was the preliminary numbers at 36%. We can expect that to be in half. This particular house, that number was $966.02. So cutting that in half, you're looking at just under $500 to where we're at now at that about 18%. So that's I think that's a pretty good cut down from there. This kind of shows our tax rate history and gives a breakdown of how we get the tax rate. It's the formula that's used. Basically, A divided by B equals C. A is our certified levy that we present. B is the tax capacity or market value, and I've got another chart that kind of shows that a few slides down. And then C gives us our tax capacity rate or our tax rate, right? So this year, our certified levy is that $1.6 million divided by the tax capacity, which this year is 3.8 million set by the county. That gives us our tax rate of 43.9%, which is down 0.8% from last year. And you can see that on the left here. Last year's tax rate was 44.8. This year's tax rate is actually down almost a whole percent to 43.9. So again, this goes into just a breakdown from the preliminary rates. This shows portions of the taxes and the levies presented to the state, Orinoco on top, Olmsted County, and the school districts that we would mainly see here as part of your taxes. And it just kind of shows what they're asking for and what their increases are this year for their budgets. And then I went through and put together a comparison preliminary levy for the surrounding cities, ones I have most contact with in my interaction and we work pretty closely with, and I think in our region, across a few different counties here. We have Olmsted County, Goodhue County, and then a few from Dodge County. Just as a reference, again, their levy changes in dollar and percentage amounts from 25 to 26. At the very bottom, there's an average of compared cities here that shows the average at about 11.2% of a levy change this year for all those cities. And then the average statewide reported to the state, 8.7%. But that includes everything from your super small towns and communities to, like your Rochesters. So you're gonna have quite the spread in there. This one I did not include Rochester because it really just skewed the numbers. This goes back to what I was talking about a couple slides ago, our tax rate history. In orange is our levy amount that we've taken every year. On the far right is 2022, all the way up to, on the far left, 2026. In the blue, you can see the tax capacity base set by the county. And you can see the increase that we've had starting in 22. There was a pretty good jump there. And then it was a little bit of a jump into 24 to 25, they remained pretty steady. And then 25 to 26, the county took a huge leap in the tax capacity. And so while ours, I think, has maintained a steady growth here. Like we said, part of our work, we do a lot of different stuff. I felt it important to kind of put in our numbers for our permits. This just kind of shows in 2022, the city, this is based off of the iWorks numbers that we have. I'm not going through our dungeon and trying to find all the previous stuff to get any more. We could certainly do that later, but starting with iWorks, 2022, we had 70 permits of all types across the city. In 2023, we had 154. 2024, we saw 295. Obviously, we know we had the water sewer plant go live and wastewater plant go live, and there was a lot more permits being used for that. This year, we saw it kind of go back down to that 158 number, which I think is going to be kind of common for the next couple of years, and will actually probably go up in 2026 and 2027. I would imagine we'll probably get closer to 175 with new infrastructure coming in, the buildings for housing, commercial, and just all the permitting that comes with that. We'll probably see an increase in those permits that come through our office. So it just shows the amount of work that will be increasing until we get up to about 2020 or 2030, which phase 1B, that's gonna jump those numbers. Again, we're gonna see a big increase as we start that project. So our key cost drivers for 2026, personnel wages, taxes and benefits, project management and contractual service increases, and then operational growth and service expectations. Being able to provide services for the city, maintain operations, and really just keep those base operations, while this year also, like I said, planning for some growth with the CIP. That was an extra $262,000 that we've never really budgeted for before. And so, that's something though that was asked for in those community groups and our boards and commissions. What kind of projects do we want to see coming through also with our departments? Long range planning is what we're starting to get into with this. And in the coming months, my plan is to have the CIP presentation as I'm working on that 10-year plan of a CIP kind of layout as I work with the department head starting in January to really sit down and go, okay, where are we at for, the next 10 years? What projects do you have? Do you want to put on the wish list? So as a city, we can really sit down and look and go, okay, each year we need to be kind of planning for X amount of expenditures potentially. And that way we have a better idea coming into the budgets each year. So with that, the final numbers after all of our workshops, you'll see them up here. on the far left, those are the 2026 numbers. On the right-hand side is the 2025s. Really tough to tell from these screens. But like I said, our total revenue, expenditures, 2,181,448. Of that, non-property taxes, 537,832, which leaves our general levy at 1,643,616. We have a debt service in our final year for 31,500, which brings the total levy to 1,675,116. That is a difference from last year of $261,851, which brings us to a tax rate of 43.9. Like I said, that is a tax decrease from last year's 44.8 of about 0.08%, and brings the total levy to 18.5%, down from the 36 point something that we had in the preliminary. So the next steps for the budget process tonight, we'll hear some public input. Then council will review and consider when we get to that point in the agenda and do the final adoption and levy. And then this is some information as well. We had that posted online. Again, this will be, I'm gonna post this presentation tomorrow morning on our website, so people have access to review it then too. But that again, will just kind of give another opportunity for people to click into to look at and where to go for engagement, so. Any
Right.
questions?
Right, thanks, Jason.
Do you want me to do like talk about the 425 stuff real quick
Sure.
while we're here? Okay. So we're gonna switch back to that. So we had gone over, the 425, budget. So what we need to know about the 425, right? It's like, you know, you gotta view it like a savings account. We're putting in the money. We're delegating, hey, this is where we'd like to see it go to. At the end of the day, the council can pull the money from wherever they want to in there. It's council money, right? So if there's an emergency that happens where we need to pull money, we're gonna pull it from any one of those areas, to be able to use it. Cause it is city money and council money. But like I said, we're trying to plan up and save for certain projects across a variety of departments. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind though. Like I said, council needs to understand at the end of the day, if that money needs to be used for something, you guys have the right to do that. Okay. So first up, is the, fire department. No, it's the revenue side, there we go. So fire departments in there, they've got 30,000 for starting to build up for vehicle replacement. That's a year over year kind of investment into their account. You know, and that could change some years if we've gotten the ability to do more, we can put more in. They've got in their air pack replacement fund for 2030 is the projected date, putting away 35,000 a year. And then their 2013 lease payment for the truck that we just purchased 2024. That one is included in there. Public Works, vehicle replacement, is $10,000. They're putting in there right now for vehicle replacement. Streets and roads, you'll see again, this one started at 224,000. That was for the projects that were put together in our pavement management plan. We did find some funds that we were able to utilize from this year's budget to be able to take over a majority of that cost. So it's been reduced down to 44,000. However, you need to be reminded that the next cycle through this, that number is gonna go back up. We're gonna start budgeting for that again. So that'll be something to keep in mind for coming years. We kind of had that one-time gift, if you will, right now for this coming year. For the shop, we've got $25,000 for facility replacement. You know, this is looking at a 10-year type project to build up to 250,000. Which, I mean, it's gonna be more than that, but we gotta get started somewhere with it. Parks and Recreation, after the last budget workshop, things got moved around a little bit. And looks like we've got $65,000 set aside for the paving of Riverwood Hills trails and the Orinoco Park trails. I think that was the
Yeah, that'll be a
Correct.
2-year plan.
Yeah, and that's gonna spread over a couple years, so we'll be able to kind of budget for that in 2027 as well. And then for the community center, city halls, the security system upgrades installs for 15,000. And that is the 425, that's the transfer out for the total of 262,000.
To clarify, for the parks and trails and the repaving of it, the 65,000 that could be spent this year, or we're gonna wait, do next year for the full 130?
I don't know, we haven't decided yet. I think we could always get bids and see what it comes out to, but most likely it probably makes more sense to wait and do it all at once versus in 2 segments, but
But there is a lot of push to have it done this year, but I think they'll be happy knowing that's there where they can work on those bids and, you know, if it works out, let's get it going and, you know, it's what the residents have been asking for, so. So yeah, that is the 425. So,
Right? So with that, public hearing is open at 7 o'clock. 7:01. Guess we opened it before, so we'll go ahead and people that like to speak, please come to the forum, state your name and address. And share your comments with us.
Stephen Norland, 845 First Street, Northwest Orinoco. I'm probably one of the long-term residents of this community. I've been in the Orinoco city since 1983. I purchased my home in 85. And my taxes back then in 1985 were $600, and that was homesteaded. And now they are $4,000. And what have I gotten for that 4,000? Well, and there were years between 1985 and 2025 that there was a reduction in our taxes, okay? But now, since an individual has taken control of our city, who believes that this community ought to be, what brought me here is the small town feel, okay? The affordability to live here, for one thing. We used to have horses down here by Pat Hall's property. I used to have a horse here. Individuals downtown, I know there's still animals here, and that gives that small town feel. We had a community here also. We had fireworks every year since every time I've been out here. That has all changed. And now they want to be this big metropolis. I've heard numerous times, we want senior housing here, okay? You're taxing me right out of my home. I am paying $4,000. Well, this year I'm paying for it. And if you add 18% onto it, 18.5%, I believe Jason said, that brings it up, okay? I don't plan on going anywhere. But you're forcing me out, you know? So I'd like to say, my parents taught me, you know, if you don't have the money, you don't buy it. So keep that in mind, please. Thank you.
Yes. I'm Chris Liam, 1145 West Center Street. I want to ask Jason a question. Is this the total levy from the city right here? 36%? Is this, what does this tell
so
me?
this was the preliminary, this is what was passed in September is kind of the placeholder where we worked through the last couple months. We had budget workshops to kind of talk about how we could bring it down.
Mhm.
And then what we just presented, this is now 18.5. So it's not 36.71, it's now 18.5.
Okay, but this is still what I'm gonna get taxed. My tax increase is gonna be. And according to this, my home's gone up in value of 43,000 in 1 year. I don't think so.
This would be about half of what you probably end up paying. So it'd be about half of that is what the city portion of your taxes would be. And then as far as the value of the house, that's up to Olmsted County. We don't make that valuation.
Right, I get
That's the
that.
county that makes that.
I get that.
So we have zero
So
control.
this won't be what it's saying it is,
No, that's true.
because this is what the total comes out to right now. Almost $700 in tax increases and levies just this year. I
Yes.
think that's.
This will go down, but this number right here is gonna go down by half, and then however they do their calculation of that, so this is, you got like a 3,000, so this is gonna go down by whatever half of that is.
Okay,
So you end up taking that out, so 500 something, that's what, $505 is gonna be where that should be at instead of the 1,000.
okay.
Does that make sense? So we
So,
reduced it by half of what the proposed was,
okay,
than where we're at, so
okay,
half of the proposed, half of that is
Okay.
gonna be
okay, so
500,
500
Yeah.
instead,
yeah.
okay.
So you take that amount out of, I
That.
believe that's your total for all three, for county, city, and school districts. And then the special assessment here.
But this is what that's what was proposed, but.
Sorry, so, okay,
the-
sorry, this is 25, this is
Yeah,
26.
right,
So actually you're half of that. So yeah, you're taking, if that's half of that, that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be that 600 something dollars for the city instead of 1,300.
okay,
600, so you'll take that amount, the half of this out of this, which is gonna lower it down, 600 something.
okay,
Does that make sense? Sorry, I was looking at the wrong dates
Okay.
here.
all right, well, I guess that isn't near as bad as what the paperwork shows, but
It's
still.
always a shocker in September.
Still, I
Ask and then
I
it
don't think
doesn't.
the taxable market value of my home has gone up 43,000 in 1 year.
And that's,
I just,
yeah,
I'd like to sell my house for what they say it's worth.
and you can contest that with the county. You can
Yeah, I
contact
probably
them
will.
and talk to them. They have
Yeah,
a
I
meeting
think
where they
that's
do
a little
that.
steep.
There's a Board of Equalization meetings, usually the first week in April.
Yeah,
It's when they have these, you can take that to the county and state your case and sometimes they'll ask,
Okay.
or you can, house can be reappraised too.
Thanks for
yeah, absolutely.
telling me about how this all works. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak?
Good evening. Patricia Shields, 540 Minnesota Avenue South. I am here because I was told this is where I need to go to have my house reevaluated. I firmly believe that because of the Dollar General being directly across from me, it has severely affected not only my ability to enjoy my home and my yard, but it's also affected my value a great deal. I'll start with my house was built in 1890. I have diminished structural value. Number one, because I have water in my basement on a regular basis. Number two, because my floors do the wiggle and the wobble. And number four, because my windows are 40 years old.
Patricia, I don't mean to interrupt you real quick. I would love you to keep going, but I want you to know, we don't do the assessment value for your property. That's with the county.
That's what I was told I'm supposed to be here for.
We don't,
Can you tell me where I'm
Yeah,
supposed to be?
no,
Because did I
absolutely.
miss a meeting already?
no, like we were just talking about the previous gentleman, we don't control the assessed value of the property. That's done through Olmsted County.
Okay,
And they hold a meeting in April
okay.
with their group to contest those property values, to be able to
Okay.
change your rates for 2026. So you'll be able to meet they'll have a Board of Equalization meeting in April. And they will do that. If you wanna get us your information, we can find that exact information out for you and get it to you. send you an email or something like that. So you have that
Yeah,
information.
'cause this is extreme. My house isn't worth what they've got registered for 2025, let alone what they think they're gonna increase me to.
Yep, but that's unfortunate. That's out of our control. That's up to the Olmsted County to make that determination. We don't do that.
If
So
you would get that to me, I would be very
we'll certainly
appreciative.
can. So if you want to make sure we have your phone, I'm sure we've got your phone number.
Do I need to
utilities.
leave this list of reasons or no?
You can, if you want to, you can hold on to it, because if you're gonna have to speak to them in April, you might want to hold on to that.
Very
But
good.
you're
I
more than welcome to
appreciate
keep talking. I just didn't want you to
Nope, that's
go into a whole
absolutely. I
thing,
just
so,
need to know what's, because if this is what said I was supposed to be here.
yeah, yep.
And I also believe there's a truth and taxation meeting on the county level. and the
Yeah.
School board level.
Each one holds a truth in taxation.
Different one. Unfortunately,
I don't-
ours is the same night as the school boards.
Yep, which is also Pine Islands is tonight, and I think Olmsted County already did theirs last week, and so they kind of all hit in December on the same night.
Is there a date on there when they meet? I thought it's on the proposed.
It is, which
Okay.
is why I'm here. That's why I'm confused.
Yeah, so our date is on sure.
For the county, yeah, there should be a date for the county on that sheet. as
Can I
well.
see it? I think there was a date on there.
That was
There's a
December
phone number.
4th. Am I understanding that correctly?
Each one has a date on it.
Yeah.
I don't know that,
Something about having.
Yeah, that's
attendance.
us.
But this is Thursday County.
yeah, but I don't know that the equalization meeting information's on those tax.
April's not, but
Yeah.
the one that happened.
But that's just that's the same thing, their truth in taxation as to what they're taxing for Olmsted County. That's
Not the
their
adjustment.
No, it's not the adjustment meeting, it's just Olmsted County's truth in taxation meeting.
These are all-
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is.
So,
Yeah, it does have the same date on here. It says right here, it says December 16th.
December 16th and here.
well, that's for our truth in taxation.
That's.
This one.
It's a truth and taxation meeting here tonight.
No, it's close.
Yeah, that's the school board.
But this isn't.
Yeah, this is our truth in taxation meeting. So this is just to talk about the property. This is when the meetings, every jurisdiction talks about their meetings. So like they're talking about.
Used to have a meeting here where you can go before council and have your property addressed.
Through the county, the equalization.
It was here.
Well, yeah, they may do that here. They may come to the communities and do that,
Okay.
but it's not now. This is just for our city truth and
That's why
taxation.
I'm confused because it's listed.
Yeah.
It's being here. That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
and so they give you the dates for each one of these groups. So like Olmsted County, theirs is on Thursday. Ours is
What's
today.
that?
What is that?
Rochester School District is on Thursday. So.
That's why I'm confused.
Absolutely.
I had no idea what.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anytime you have questions, you can always come in and ask too. We'll try to help you out.
I don't know. I just thought it'd be easier to just come to
No,
council
I
and
get
give
it.
it out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem.
I mentioned the April month, but all they have right now on the Olmsted County Board of 2026 equalization meeting is sometime in June, so
And they'll have.
not
it before
exact
that.
date yet, so.
We'll figure that out. Not what you want to just take a note of that. Thank you.
Okay. Is that something we want to post on our website?
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Certainly will.
Does anybody else would like to speak? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak
Joy,
truth and taxation?
Joy's got her hand raised.
Yes. Okay, is it all right that I speak now, Jason, Mayor?
Yep.
Okay, Joy Bertsinger, Southwest Orinoco. I just want to say I appreciate the time that you spent bringing down the budgeted amount from about 38% increase to just under the 20% increase. There are needed expenses that I see on your budget, but I'm hopeful that residents can see actual improvements for the increases we are paying. After several years of playing catch up, I am hopeful our taxes will level off for next year's tax levy. I also want to mention that I did speak with Olmsted County in April about the huge increase in my property value. I have an older home, again, 40 years old, and I was told that it has nothing to do with my house the increase in value was the land value, which happened throughout our city of Orinoco. And I'm hoping that next year that levels off as well. I do ask that next year, during your time when you're setting the tax levy for 2027, when you set that in September of 26, please set a reasonable tax levy of no more than 10%. Then work to bring that down to not more than 8%. Please, no more pie in the sky type of budget tax levies that you're giving. Only to have our residents feel grateful that the increase was cut in half by December. Also, just want to mention that unless the council and residents understand the need for smaller lot sizes in parts of our city, taxpayers will continue to see double-digit city tax increases. More properties mean the tax burden is divided by more taxable properties. Also, smaller lots mean a more diverse population. Please help all to have the chance to live in our great city. Thank you, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Jordan.
Anybody else on Zoom would like to speak? We'll bring it back to City Hall. Anybody else would like to speak this time? Okay. We'll go to the next regarding, you said the budget itself. Does anybody like to speak to the budget itself or a particular item on the budget? That'd be a good time to speak to that.
I have one comment to make. I'm looking at things and looking at what we have for personnel increases that there are in the city. I think it'd be wise to take a look and see if we couldn't adjust as a financial person and also a person that's taking over Mel's position, to have that as one position instead of two positions. And take a look, especially for this year that's coming up. I don't see that big increase right now that we're gonna have for permits and different things that there are. But I think that might be a place that we could turn around and save some money that there would be. And to post and just see what we come up with that way and see if there might be somebody that would fit into that.
So you want to take two jobs and combine them into one?
Yes.
I just want to put out there, I'm strongly opposed to that, because that's kind of what we're already doing now. And it's overworking and taxing on the staff. So that's my opinion on that for council to consider.
Well, have we closed this hearing yet?
Was that?
Is the public hearing closed yet?
No, not yet. So whoever. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to the budget? And the last item is the 425 or the CIP. Couple sheets about what money we're putting towards future projects and in addition to current projects and that we're planning on doing in 2026. So if there's anybody who'd like to speak to that, please step forward to the podium. Anybody on Zoom would like to speak to that? All right. The second and final call for public hearings. And third and final call for public hearing. With that, we'll close at 7:20. When we get to the resolutions later, then we can have our more discussion among the council members. Okay, next item is a Flattering Hood 2026. Make a motion, we approve.
Mayor, Mayor, this is Mike. You don't have to move and motion anything.
There was-
Pardon me, I got a sore throat. It's just a notice letter. Our contract just says we notice you with our rates once a year for the next year. So it really doesn't need to be in the packet, but I guess as an FYI, it's there.
Mike, what kind of, what, is there anything that's changed in that from last year?
Yeah, I mean, we up our rates every year.
I just didn't see the comparison to know what was what.
Yeah, I know the general, I mean, there's a rate schedule there, Paul. And I know the general municipal rate, that's the one almost all your bills are under that rate. Or the majority of your bills. Just give me a second, I'm trying to pull it up. I believe it's 215 and it used to be 205. But I can't, for some reason, I've got Jason's chart up in the agenda and it's not letting me.
Gotta scroll to the side, Mike.
What now? Scroll to the side.
Go left or right.
Oh, I see. There's a toggle left or right. There it is. Okay. Sorry. The two had that other one sideways. I see that. Yeah. So on the chart, the top rate, the attorney rate of 215, that was 205 last year. So it increased $10. And then each of the rates went up a little bit. I could get that information for you. I don't know. I don't know what each one is. 25 versus 26 off the top of my head, but yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Paul, would you like him to get those rates? Or just?
It doesn't matter, we get charged it anyway. But
Yeah, I wanna make it so we know to do it.
Well, at least we just wanted to know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
that's all.
It would be interesting, to know, so.
Yeah, Mike, if you can pull those together and send them, you can send them straight to council and include me on it and.
Yeah, we sent it last year, but I can pull them up. I think it's usually about 5%, but we increase, give or take, each year. Sure, I'll make a note and do that this week.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the fire department. There's some elections. Would you like to speak to it at all? We have a list of names for the Chief Johan Sonnenberg, First Assistant Dan Sunt, Second Assistant Leif Denning, Training Officer Dustin Nevesmo, EOC Director is Adam Graves. So with that, I make a motion, we approve the proposed leadership of the fire department.
I second that.
Comments, questions? Are these one-year terms?
Fire department, yes, they're one-year terms. On the first responders, it's 2-year terms.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. Next is first responders. Director is Gwen Bergoni, sorry. Assistant Director, Bobby Nusnik. Deputy Assistant Danielle Johnson. Training Officer Jane Schulte Whiting. And Secretary Kathy Brent Rucker.
I make a motion to accept those.
I'll second those.
Those are true here. Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's approved. ERC, Employee Relations Committee has a couple items. 3 items on the. First one is a Minnesota paid leave, the memo. The page 19 that Jason put together for the council. We need a motion to approve that.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
So within the letter, It addresses the proposal. The recommendation is to council is that we approve full-time employees split cost 0.88% with the city 50-50. Each party would pay an equal share of the 0.44% of the benefit payment. The city would cover 100% of the benefit cost for the fire department, first responders, planning and zoning commission, and city council. So these costs, although the percents aren't very large, the approximate cost of the city would be as follows. And it's being proposed in the 2026 budget. So the city staff amount would be $2,800, fire department, $150, emergency responders, $150, planning and zoning, $50, and city council, $150. Anything else anybody would like to add?
Is that gonna complicate your payroll or whatever?
No, BSNA has multiple clients in Minnesota. They're already planning on getting that going January 1. So it really doesn't change much of anything. We did talk to the attorneys and they clarified that we can pay 100% for these groups and 50% for these groups. That wasn't an issue. I know that was brought up at one of our workshops. So that's why we just continued with this.
Okay, any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Oh, same sign. That's approved. Next item for motion is there's a submission form, page 21. Development and adoption of the standardized employment application process.
We missed administrative day one.
Yeah.
The motion to approve administrative days for the 26th and January 2nd.
I'll second that if that's a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
So this is December the 26th, Friday after Christmas, and January 2nd, the day after New Year's. So any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Approved. Next item is, oh, I'm sorry.
Back to where you were before, the standardization of employment.
No, I'm sorry. The motion was for the city staff. This is the next one is the development adoption of the standardized employment application process. And so what that is asking for is the recommendation is to put together a standardized employment application process. It's requesting a formal job description prior to posting any position. Submission and retention of the original application at City Hall in accordance with the general records retention, which is a state requirement. Completion of the federal W4, Minnesota W4, and federal I-9 forms as required by law. Verification and retention of all on I-9 identification documents. Issuance and retention of a formal written offer and acceptance letter. And number 5 is a legal authorization for city administrator to work with existing employees to complete all legally required hiring documentation.
Make a
I think
motion.
that's a great idea. I don't know if you need a motion, you said it for others. Is there supposed to be a motion with that or?
There's a motion, yes.
Second,
Mason Reed.
Jim Daniel, right?
Marie,
Thank
Daniel.
you.
Yeah.
So this is, yeah, this motion and this process is just to clearly identify more falls in line if you're a general employment at any other job. So we're just asking our city employees to document and fill these forms out. So it's important for record retention It's also important for insurance. It's just a good documentation to put in place, so.
I agree.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's approved. Okay. Unfinished business. Couple quick discussion items. First one is, this is Jim requested these three items, the status of the forensic audit.
I think that's coming on Thursday, right?
Thursday, we have a meeting with a presentation by the auditor.
Yep,
December 18th at 6:30 PM.
yep. We'll set up a Zoom for it. So it'll be, anybody can watch online. It's just a presentation.
Good, I think it's good.
Meeting, anybody can come and whatever. It's just gonna be all open, not taking any action or anything, just presenting the findings from it. So,
Are they gonna be here?
yes,
Okay.
he is gonna be here.
That'll be on Zoom as well. so.
Yeah,
And then is that complete?
yes.
Okay.
Public also,
But
public also.
absolutely.
Everything is public except for a closed hearing.
And the other was the status of the River Park drain field development, and I saw that, in the EDA consent that there was looking at that, okay, so I had put that before I got
Yeah, okay.
the packet, okay, so, but I did see that, so is that progressing ahead then, or is it?
We have a meeting on the 22nd, December 22nd, so we'll get an update on what we were proposing for Kurt to work on. Bring that to our EDA meeting, so.
And the other one was the status of the Gold Rush Crossing development, I just haven't heard anything on that recent, or
Nothing.
we don't know where.
Crickets.
What's the timeline on that yet? Isn't there 3 months on that yet for
No, there was 6 total,
6 total?
so I think we're counting down, and we're probably
March
got.
25th, I think.
I knew it expired. I just didn't remember when.
All right. So next item is a summary of conclusions. The evaluation of performance of City Administrator Jason Baker pursuant to Minnesota statutes 13D.05 subdivision 3. And with that, I have the comments that I'll read at this time. On September 16th, 2025, the City Council held a closed meeting to evaluate the performance of City Administrator Jason Baker. In accordance with the governing law at this council meeting, which is the next possible open council meeting following the previously mentioned closed meeting, the City Council is required to summarize the conclusions of the evaluations reached by the council at the September 16th, 2025 closed meeting. City Administrator Baker did not request that such meeting to be open to the public. As a result, the evaluation of City Administrator Baker's performance took place in a closed meeting as provided under the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. The conclusions. As chairperson of this meeting, I will now provide a summary of those conclusions reached by the council from the September 16th, 2025 evaluation. These comments were summarized by our HR attorney. City Administrator Baker was evaluated on numerous aspects of his performance. While City Administrator Baker meets and occasionally exceeds some expectations, further development in certain areas is necessary. City Administrator Baker demonstrates strong initiative in working extended hours to ensure timely completion of tasks. City Administrator Baker must improve communications between himself, council, and other city departments as to facilitate shared understanding of information prior to making decisions, rather than maintaining siloed lines of communication. City Administrator Baker should seek to improve his general interpersonal communication to improve relationships with staff and council. City Administrator Baker demonstrates highly sound analytical skills, but should seek improvement of ensuring his skills is demonstrated in his overall final work product. Despite needing improvement on certain aspects of this performance, The mayor and city council believe Jason can develop into a highly effective city administrator. A salary increase is warranted based on city administrator Baker's performance evaluation and potential. So with that, after the reading, we'll go to the next item on our agenda, which is a motion to approve city administrator salary increase for city administrator Jason Baker. Just a couple of things here to comment on first. Member, as you are aware, we evaluated the performance of city administrator Baker during a closed meeting on September 16th, 2025. However, specific salary adjustments were not negotiated or approved. We will now discuss any salary increases in this open position. So with that, open for discussion.
Somebody gotta make a motion. Discuss it, right?
I'll make a motion for opening it up for discussion.
Second.
No, we had discussed 3.5% cost of living increase for Jason.
That was hit in our, we talked about a cost of living, which is 2.8%.
I thought we had said we would do 3.5, which is what everybody else was getting in the city to keep it equitable for what the rest of the employees are getting.
So in our discussions, we looked at different options. And the one option was a 3.5% at 1 January. And then we were going to put, and we did put a list of goals together. And then effective 1 July, with meeting the goals, there would be a 5% increase for the rest of the year salary. So those two, that approach of 3.5% and 5% was a budget wise, this is where it gets kind of sticky. Budget wise, it's $98,820.51 for my calculations.
That's with which percentage?
That's a 3.5, 1 January and 5% after meeting the goals 1 July. In my conversations with our HR attorney, that's kind of a complicated process because the first 6 months is based on a it's based on a $96,410 salary, annual salary. After 1 July, the 1 July through into December, that's based on $101,230.76. So it's a complication from results from our pay studies that we send to the state. And it's my understanding, and Mike, you can comment too, please. But it's my understanding that it's complicated to do it that way. So which salary do you really put in there for the yearly salary? So I think we
just leave it at 3.5% for the year.
I just know that so far by using Mike, our attorney, on going over this issue has cost the city $10,532 so far. And we don't have a resolution. I mean, that's 10 grand that we've given up from the city money just to get this resolved. I mean, how long do we keep going with this? I mean, it's like it's to me, that's $10,000 we could have saved.
Are you talking about his review or what are you talking?
No, I'm talking about the cost that there is for the attorney going through the relations for what we've, I just looked at the cost of what the checks were this last month and what we sent to them for employee relations, and it was $10,532. That's a lot.
That's the only one. That's the only one that was.
That's the only one that was in question. I just think that that's,
Well, I can't speak to the cost. I just know that
I mean, some of it was our personnel policy, because we wanted them to look at that. We also asked them about the Minnesota paid leave, so it's not just
I
that.
just looked at it this last
Yeah.
month, which is what we were working with Jason.
We've actually been working with them on their personnel policy too.
It's still
So, I
a
mean,
lot of money.
it is a lot of money, but it's not just for the performance on this. The other thing I would be mindful of, this is the first time we've actually really held ourselves to a standard of reviewing our administrator. Hopefully, we have a process that we can keep moving that forward, that we don't need legal team to weigh in on it if we have the framework of what we should be doing, right? So this is trying to get us on a framework and a structure to do it. Jason can expect to know what he's getting. We can know the process. So again, I think there is a little bit of upfront costs that we had to use to get a really strong framework and to make sure that it was legal to do from an HR perspective.
So looking at the two-step process, it appears that it's risky to do it. It's,
Risky to do what?
They actually
to
advised.
actually go with the two process.
They advised not to have it based on performance, that it would be a flat rate and that performance would be evaluated every cycle of his appraisal. So would it,
The performance portion?
yep, so it wouldn't be a 6-month bump. It would be for a year based on the last year's performance. So we talked about the 3.5 to the 5. They actually recommended that we don't pursue that because it could get us into some sticky situations based on performance and expectations of performance and monitoring the goals in a consistent way.
Well, if that's the case, and it was based on last year's performance, we had last year's performance. Okay, and that last year's performance only justified the 3.5 cost of living. So if that's the case, I'll stick it at the 3.5 because of what last year's performance was.
But
The cost of living last year was 2.5.
No, I'm just saying, because if we're looking and gonna report it, it would report on what it was for the evaluation for him last year, which we've already done, which is based off of the 3.5. So if you were gonna submit it, I would go that direction with the 3.5, then if that's what it is to keep us out of trouble.
It was 2.5 last year, but we give up 3%.
Right, for
To everybody.
3.5, but that was a 1% performance then.
I didn't sit in on the 1% performance meeting. That must have been an employee relations thing. Because last year, the city council.
I'm just thinking of 3.5% given to him. Of that 3.5% for his contract, he gets cost of living. So that was only 2.8% or 2.5%. So essentially you have 1% performance increase from 90,000 to 93 was 3.5.
I guess I wasn't really into performance, okay.
Last year
So
was done at the
he was
December.
contract, he was awarded the 2.5%, but we funded it as a 3.5, so it was a 1% for performance.
I think 3.5 was what the other positions were getting, right, Jason, for cost of living? Yeah,
So.
yeah.
So if we're, to follow up on what Marie's saying, so what we need to do as a council is to determine a salary effective 1 January for the complete year. So when 2027 pay studies requested by the state, we can say this is what his annual salary was, so.
3.5.
So
I
I did
would-
touch base with our recruiter that we used, and city administrators are, there's quite a demand for city administrators right now. And he shared, there's 5 different cities in between 1,500 and 2,000, 2,500. And it's been 2 years since we hired Jason, but right now the going rate for hiring a new administrator in our size of class is around 103 to 104,000. is what the going rate is for.
Well,
cities that are
again,
hiring.
when you're looking at that, you have to take into account the number of years those people have been working in that position, and none of that is stated when you look at that dollar amount. So I know it's great to look at it, but that's not creating or being apples to apples. We don't know the full detail of what there is for surrounding communities. And it's also a situation that, if it was 100% and we didn't have the issues that we were looking at that came up, that would be a different story as well. The key is to get those particular items addressed to be able to move ahead. So I think that where we're at right now is to use that 3.5, stick with that. And I mean, we can throw all, and Jason gave, I don't know, probably 200 cities that there were when he was looking at that. And I can understand him wanting to get an increase. Everybody does. But it's also something that needs to be mentioned that he's a part of this employee relation committee. And so he's on the committee that's looking at increasing his salary too, which really shouldn't be a part of that committee. That should be done.
I don't think any part of that.
On that committee,
Yeah, we didn't.
there's no discussions on that committee.
Nope.
Right, well, I just to
That's
point
an
out
assumption that's wrong.
Incorrect statement.
We didn't have any input from a committee for that.
So in my conversation with the recruiter about city administrators, even when we're talking about Jason with his 2 years experience, he thought that was a very logical type of salary for that type of experience. You mentioned experience, and he has 2 years of experience. And I think the evaluations that we talked about was fair, but at the same time, I feel like he's been a great add to the city. And there are hard challenges, but at the same time, I think he's exhibiting a willingness to improve the city. There's a lot of things he's done that we've never done with any previous 3 or 4 city clerks. So I see that as a huge benefit, and his work ethic has a lot to do with what he's accomplished. You get reports every week on Friday updates. You see all the different activities that he's involved with. And just the development of the city itself. He's helping that come about. He's got a great networking with his fellow city administrators. He's learning from that. He's using that to his advantage too. So I think there's just a lot of positive of him coming, or that he's developing, but hopefully he will take that for helping with the betterment of the city. And I know there's a lot of personnel issues, but at the same time, you put those things aside about the work that he's done. And I think it's very deserving of a raise. If you did, for like example, the budget right now is 104,000. So, versus like 102,000, just compare those two numbers. There's not much difference between $49.04 an hour to 102 versus $50 an hour for 4,000. Through the whole budget workshops, we've used 104,000. And, we're talking $2,000-3,000 difference or more, not much more than that.
Well, if we talk $2,000 or $3,000 in every item we're on here,
We had 5 workshops, what's that? We're not gonna go through line item tonight.
those $2,000 or $3,000 items, they add up. You start throwing 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in a night. Gotta be real.
I'd like
I guess I'm
to,
at the 3.5%. That's where I'll stay.
I'd like to propose that since we were looking at doing a 5% in July, that maybe we do the 3.5 plus the half of that 5, so plus the 2.5, so it would be a total of 6. 6% total for the year. So it would be his contracted 2.5% cost of living with a 3.5% raise.
Well, first of all, we've got to have him perform with what the issues are for 6 months, okay? So, you know, that raised part of it is, and the question came up, what do we need to submit to the state? And we submit to the state the 3.5, which is realistically where we're at now and truthful where we're at right now.
Yeah, I think the goals are still good for this first 6 months. And I see those goals as helping write his performance review when you do them in July or when we're supposed to be doing them. So yes, there's no dollar figure there, but it is a prerequisite for our evaluations to see how he met those goals going forward.
I think because of some of the goals and just the focus on some of those things, I think a 6% would be hard for me to go with. I do think that we should think about how increases between the city administrative salary compared to other staff also is in effect. Because there are 6 or 7 goals that we would like to see implemented with a quick turnaround time. I don't think I could do 6. I'm probably in the 4.5 as a friendly wager.
Stick with the 3.5 until he finishes with the 6 months that there are for improvements.
They advised against that.
But I'm looking at that too. I mean, I want to see those goals met as well. You know, and I think that's gonna help everybody that there is involved. There's no question about that. You know, so, you know, I think with the other employees in the city getting 3.5, that's where I'm looking at too, on being across the board, being equal with that, where we're not going with the individual other employees and saying, okay, you deserve to have 5, you deserve to have 7. We're not doing that with the other employees. You know, and so that's where I'm still saying that the 3.5 makes more sense. I understand your point. Point well taken, Daniel, and what you're looking at. I'm just saying we got to keep it equal across all the employees of the city.
Well, I would argue that I think the percent is, you know, I appreciate what you're saying, but at the same time, I think it's reflective of him providing the leadership for the city. Providing the leadership for the city is, granted, all of our positions are important.
Yeah.
But without a city administrator, and we know what it's like without a city administrator, we've done it 3 times now. It's not a fun experience when you go 5, 6 months without a city administrator.
I know we've always had somebody to fill in, so we've been able to cover that. So Shirley did a wonderful job, so.
But that's not a,
You know, I don't want to downplay that, so we are never without having an ability to do that. Again, I'm just saying it's equal for what there is for the other employees that there are in the city. And that way it keeps us, I think, right with what we're doing with the state.
Respect keeping.
well, right now, in our September 3rd, I think it was workshop, he shared cities with populations of
And again,
so
with that
like
one,
$51 was the average for those 19 cities that we looked at in our population range.
but we don't,
They,
with all due respect, again, there was no information given on how many years those people had been with those cities or all the other stuff that there is. It's pretty easy just to have that and look at that point. And I don't think that's a full picture of what there is.
I'll share this picture with you. Let's say Jason leaves Orinoco. I'd hate to see that happen. So then all of a sudden, to find somebody to replace him, we've lost 4, 5, 6 months because there is a market for city administrators. And we're gonna have to pay a premium to get a city administrator.
Well, maybe
So,
that,
can I finish, please?
Sure.
So we run the risk of getting somebody in a quick time and having to pay $105,000 to get that person. We don't know who that is. So you're running the risk of that. And with the city that we're in a position right now to not have a city administrator in place, it'd be an unfortunate situation for the position of our cities in right now for growth. The growth will happen. If we were closer to the Iowa border, you know, it'd be a different story, but we're not. We're in a unique situation that a lot of cities envy from the point of being able to grow. And that's why we have a wastewater system built for that. Because if we need growth to help pay for it, otherwise if we don't grow, everybody that's sitting here now is gonna have to pay more and more for it. Sewer rates will go up. So we need volume, we need density. And to have him leave now, I hope he doesn't, of course, but it's just it's gonna be a huge challenge for the city of Orinoco, I think so. I think you need to pay him accordingly.
So you're concerned about if they had to pay 104 or 105,000 for a replacement down the road. You make it sound like it's a lot of money, but then when you talk about increasing the salary to 5%, you say it's just a little bit of money. So is it a little bit of money or is it a lot of money?
The other thing I was gonna say, Ryland, is this, that maybe another administrator would have the financial ability that there would be to be able to handle the finances without having an extra person. And that way you could turn around and actually save money that there is for the city. So it's not necessarily, I'm just, you get this what ifs, okay, so.
It's not a what ifs. We can talk all night about what ifs, but at the same time, first thing a city administrator may say, do you have a financial person? Well, no, we don't. We didn't want to hire them. So
No,
it's a catch-22.
It's a matter of, do we have a financial person that might be able to take over Mel's stuff as well? And so it doesn't take 100% financial person to be able to run this city. I don't think that a financial person would spend 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, just behind looking at the finance. I think there's other things that can be done. I really do.
So the difference between an annual salary from 3.5 to 6 is $400, $300, 320 bucks.
We're looking at 2,000.
Oh, sorry.
2,300.
Sorry, 2,000. I'm in the zero. 2,000,
You talked $1,000 for every
2,300.
While I respect keeping it equal, and I hear what you're saying with that, I think it's important to remember that Jason was here at the beginning of the year, holding down the fort by himself, responsible for ramping up our 2 current employees, getting them going. So there was additional training, there was additional turnover that he was responsible for, and he was still able to maintain his responsibilities day to day. He's been responsive when we've asked him to do feedback, so I have no doubt that when we give him his goals, that he's going to respond to those positively and meet those. So I think the 3.5, keeping it fair, but I do think that he deserves more, especially from getting everybody going from the beginning of the year, of having nobody here except for himself. And then Kane, for that whole first part of the year to get all that training and ramp up done. So.
I think with the goals, if he meets them, right, it's a different conversation next year. Because to me, those goals are getting him and the city to a place of like, this is expectation setting versus exceptional service. Like, to me, I think if Jason can do those, I think next year is a very different conversation based on performance. So I also want to make sure that that's known, that some of these things, if we can get Jason and the staff on the right path, and not just Jason, but the city, and making sure that we have some of those foundational pieces, I mean, Jason
I
is
agree.
a hard worker. You know, he puts in a lot of hours. He does a lot of things that we probably don't see every day. So I also want to give him credit to that, as well as making sure that we're competitive enough in case the risk of Jason leaving is there. As well. I mean, we can't be Rochester competitive, but I think we also need to right size to the budget too.
I agree with that for looking at next year where it would be at, absolutely.
So
We got a
getting
long
back
ways
to,
to go. What are we gonna do?
so getting back, I'm sorry.
We got a long ways to go. What are we gonna do?
Well, I just look at more, you know, the cost of living today is 2.8%. Last year was 2.5. In my mind, and maybe some other, maybe not, I don't know, in my mind, that was a 1% performance raise. This year, I think he's worthy of being paid for his performance over the last 2 years. So, but the cost of living today is 2.5 or 2.8. And if we were to put a 6% performance based on the last 2 years' experience, not just last year, I think that would be worthy of a possibility.
What are you proposing? Right.
Yeah.
So what are you proposing?
As you said, 6,
I
right?
said 6.
And are you saying 6, Rylan?
8.8.
You said 6.
Bear with me a second here.
What percentage are you thinking? Because Jason has his.
I think I'm thinking of, it'd be 8.8, 2.8 and 6.
So he's taking your,
6 to the 2.8, so 8.8 is what you're looking at.
The $101,347.
The percentage.
What's the percentage?
What's the percentage?
That's 8.8.
8.8%?
That includes cost of living. Which is a 6% performance over the last 2
No.
years.
No, well, we can only do this
Which
year.
is 3% each year.
We can only do this year. We're looking at this year, Ryland. We're not looking at last year. We're looking at this year. And we're looking at what the performance is that came into this, okay? And we spent 2.5 hours in a closed meeting to come up with the items that there are for him to be able to improve. Okay? 2.5 hours.
So
Okay,
that
so
covers-
what you're saying is that it should have been, here's 8.8, that's the end, no 2.5 hours, no changing anything. We're giving him everything when he hasn't really performed with the way. And and we have the reports that show the difference on the performance too. Again, I'm gonna go back to this. 3.5% is what we're offering our employees of the city. And I'll tell you what, we could probably have a couple people that there are from Public Works sit here and say how much more work that they did, that they would like to have an 8% increase on what their salary is as well. I'll guarantee you that would be the case. And they could sit here and explain it the way that you're trying to explain it for Jason. But that's not what we did. We decided that the city was gonna give 3.5%. That's where we stick, that's where we stay. And then the performance comes up otherwise, that's a different story, but 8%, no, sorry.
So when we were talking in our closed session, or in general right now, of course, the 3.5 costs 1 January and a 5%, that's, 8.5%.
But that's not starting out right now. He's got to prove that he's made those changes, Rylan. That's what I'm saying. He's got to make those changes. What we talked about is what we're going to turn around and submit to the state of Minnesota, which is the 3.5%. This is where the whole discussion came up.
I think what changed, part of my changing was this, the step process was not a good way to go, so we got either we decide on 1 January what the salary is for the whole year. And I think the comments and our experiences for the last 2 years minus 3 months, to me, he's doing a lot of those goals already with updates.
Again, we're looking at this year, Ryland, and next year, not going back 2 years. That's done,
2024.
okay? And if he would have done that good a job at that point in time, we wouldn't be in this situation trying to get him to correct some of the issues that need to be done. And all, it's just,
I'm gonna take offense to that because I didn't have an annual review done by council, so I would like that comment not to be made. That's a bad comment. I think it reflects poorly on me, which is false. Because we waited 2 years for an annual review. I can't correct what I never had the option to correct, so.
but we want you to correct, Jason.
I understand that. I'm just saying that comment specifically was,
The whole
was wrong.
purpose behind it
So-
is trying to get that correction.
Well, it's an issue, I guess, and I think it's,
So what's the motion on the table?
3.5.
I make a motion. Raise Jason's salary to 8.8%, which includes cost of living. That's a balance, or it's a total of $101,347.20. Your second? Is there a second? Motion dies for a second. The next offer.
3.5%. Make a motion for 3.5% to the state. And that's what we put down. And we look after 6 months and we can find the money for him to get. Okay,
We talked about 3.5%, but we also talked about the mid-year raise, which can't
Mhm.
happen now. So I think that we need to have the discussion of bringing that, some of that, not all of that forward. So the 3.5 plus, I still think the half of what we were saying for July 1, which brings it to 6, it total is reasonable.
Did you get a second for your motion?
my motion was for 3.5. Okay, and then to look at what it is after the 6 months. Say you can't do that? Can't do that. Then it's like everybody else that there is in the city is gonna be at 3.5.
Who seconded that?
Nobody has.
Oh, I'll second that, 3.5%.
Motion's for 3.5%. Is that correct?
Mhm.
you say with the reevaluation in 6 months? You
Yeah.
brought that up, Ed? Just make sure I'm writing this
Now,
down.
hold now.
We-
So what?
I don't think we should put that in there.
I don't either.
For this, for the wage to go up in 6
HR,
months?
the HR lawyer recommended strongly
And then we'll
against
just
it.
do it at 3.5 then.
And Paul seconded, right?
I'll second it at 3 if it's staying even through the year.
Yeah. figures.
$96,410.
96,410. Right. Yeah, I personally can't vote for that. It's just, it's a, it's a not, not correct, and it's, not a good situation to have those figures.
Well, we got about 40 minutes into this conversation right now, so where are we going with it? We can drag this up till midnight. We were worried about the budget.
Any other comments?
I just, I don't agree with 6 and I don't agree with 3.5. I think Jason's made remarkable improvement over just the last couple of months. That again, that performance period was based on before, but I think he has that potential. So I would like to give him a little bit more than 3.5, just to be able to say that, one, we want you here, but we also need these goals met. I think that's an important statement. I don't agree with a 6. That's why I was thinking like a 4.5. I mean, I know it's small dollars, but again, I think there's.
Is that a friendly motion that you're making?
Mhm.
I'll accept that friendly motion.
So that's an amendment to Jim's motion. Yeah, okay.
And that would be throughout the year, so goals would still need to be met, but that would not be, there would not be a performance improvement at 6 months in terms of salary.
That was 4%, right?
4.5.
That's 97,341.75. You probably round that up in the budget to 97,345. Well. Benefits and salaries, you round it up. With the health.
That's just
para,
hourly.
Yeah, that's just the base salary rate. 97,341.75, so it's 46.80 an hour. And you include health, para, payroll, just as every other employee, brings the overall total 131,985.68. So round it up to round number 931.90 in the budget. 131,990.
So 4.5% includes the cost of living,
Yes.
That would include that. Well,
2.8.
Mhm.
So the performance is 1.7. That's how I look at that number. Any other comments? I feel like that's still low, but that's my opinion. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Hey,
Nay. Next item is, Lori.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, Lori.
Hi,
Hey, Lori. Very good.
Merry Christmas to you.
So tonight, this was added late this afternoon into the packet. The 235 pages, or whatever it is. So I think it would be worthy of what, with our time frame and agenda for tonight, that we table it to the January 20th meeting.
That okay, Lori? Is that okay, Lori? Did you hear that?
Sorry, I think
I second that motion, Ryland, by the way.
Yeah. Is somebody gonna say anything?
I was waiting to get a hold of her, so.
So she froze, so.
So Mayor, I'm emailing her right now, just letting her know that you're tabling it till January 20th. In case she's frozen, at least she'll get my email, hopefully.
Thank you.
So go ahead with the vote.
Yep.
Wrong freeze button.
It's all about it.
All in favor of the, planning and zoning updates? We tabled to the January 20th meeting. Okay. Along with that is the ordinance or the.
Do we need a vote on that one, or
So,
need a vote?
Probably.
Need a vote?
Yeah, we need to vote on the table.
Yeah, I got a first and a
yeah,
second.
all in
so-
favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll talk about that in January. Get a chance to go read through it, become familiar with it. Next item is our city council payroll on page 269. I make a motion, we approve. No, it's just a spreadsheet, there's no attendance, there's no motion there.
And I'll update it with Thursday's,
What's that?
I'll update it with Thursday's event. Put that in there, that's not included in this.
Hold down to the other one.
So, but that's just showing everybody what was there.
Next item is our, Jim had a submission form regarding the, 130.007 code, contribution of net profits to fund administered by city.
So what we were looking at, and I know that Kent's been working on this and with Mel. And bringing the monies back into the city for the 10% of the gambling. And my motion, or what I want to do, is to eliminate the ordinance that's there and just have them keep that 10% that they normally have over there. Make our accounting so much easier on what we're trying to account and what funds to be put in and where it's being spent. I just think it'd be smoother for the city. I think it'd be easier for fire relief to be able to keep that. We get audited with fire relief gets audited every year to know that everything is spent correctly. You know, so that way, and a lot of the stuff like, again, thank you for what you did with Santa Claus this year with the Lions Club. That was a tremendous success of what was going on. And so I know monies are spent that way too, to help the community on everything that they do, so.
Should we wait to talk about this until after Thursday?
if you wanna put it off till next month, because we can find out with Thursday what's going on, I think we could do that.
I would suggest that too. We don't know what his suggestions might be. How to improve the use of the 10% or interaction with how the city uses the funds going forward properly, so it's documented, whether it's to the fire department or to the parks department or whatever we decide is.
Or if it stays, we eliminate the ordinance. So if you look at what there is for the ordinance, the 349.16. And if you pull that up and take a look at it, it says may on everything, not shall. And so with that being may, it's okay for the fire department to be able, or the fire relief, just to keep that money.
Well, if it says may, then it's not required that the city do that, follow the ordinance.
Exactly.
It's required unless there's a resolution.
And that's what I'm trying to do, is put that forth off of it, but we need to repeal the ordinance first before I can do the resolution.
After the ordinance, you don't need a resolution. You're taking away the whole ordinance.
Okay, so that's what I want to do, is take that ordinance away.
I agree with Daniel. I think we should wait for Thursday.
And again, that's why I brought it up to talk about that, so, and I'm understanding with Daniel too, off of that, to put it off to next month.
Just close enough to that,
Yeah.
we can.
So you want to make a motion to table it?
I'll make a motion to table it till January, after we have the meeting on Thursday.
I'll second it.
Comments? All in favor, tabling it to the January 20th meeting, signify by
We had
saying
a question out here. Who had the question?
aye. Say aye.
Right.
Opposed? That's approved.
I think
Table.
they got a question for the fire departments.
Yeah.
Does that affect this next year's budget? So does it need to be decided today? If this 2026 budget's being decided?
No.
I don't think so.
And I'm also would like to suggest that you leave the ordinance and exempt the fire relief. Which I think is better for you guys and us. Instead of completely removing.
Yeah, I don't, there's.
I guess I would
We don't know what the
understand why you
future
do
is.
one and not the other. Aren't they two in the same?
What?
You're talking about the fire, talking about exempting the fire relief and what else? Versus what?
Exempting the fire relief from paying that fee instead of getting rid of the fee.
Because if they decide ever not to do it again, the ordinance is still there, the city's still getting money from whoever takes
If
over.
another organization comes in, you can still collect that fee from them.
But you get rid of it, it's gone, that money's gone, it's never coming in as a revenue. We'd have to go through a whole process to get an ordinance back.
Okay, I
So my
understand now.
suggestion would be to exempt us. Is what I'm asking.
In case the Lions want to start selling pull tabs.
Or the city council wants to.
All right, so we'll,
Kick back.
I'll bring that back.
Right?
Next item is a outstanding citizen award. We got a late start. Something we still want to do, and was today's the last date for nominations?
31.
31, okay. Good. All right, moving on to our financials. First is resolution 2025-30, assessing charges to property taxes payable 2026. Page 277. I make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-30.
That's the budget.
No, that's the people that are past due for what needs to be done for, yeah. I make a second on that one for 2025-30.
These are mostly, I think it's all fees, utility fees or back interest put under the taxes, so.
How we doing with Orinoco Estates? Is that the 22,000 or
Yes,
Oak Meadows, whatever it is?
it's, yes, it's a.
That's the 22,689.
Those was a late. fee,
Interest,
so, you know,
Is that,
She
is
could
that
have.
Orinoco Estates?
Yep.
Okay.
Some of these others with large numbers on vacant.
2,700 on one of them.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
pretty
there's
high.
a couple of them are 2,700.
Yeah,
So one of them's a salvage yard too, though.
The last one is the salvage yard. The second from the bottom is Orinoco Estates.
okay, so this is a
We
salvage
do
yard.
have a resolution to record for the tax roll for the township.
Bottom one must be for the salvage. yard.
It is, that's what she said.
Is that just the interest that they, for
That's
the 20?
penalties and interest from 2024
Okay,
They're late fees.
and 25.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any luck with Orinoco Estates or,
They're completely current monthly.
but I'm just saying they're past due, because I mean,
This is penalties and interest from 24 and the first portion of 25, January through June.
okay, then after June, they were
Current in
with
June.
everything with everything. The township help out with that?
No,
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, 2025-30, signify by saying aye.
We have to do a vote.
So,
Well, we're gonna do voice votes resolution.
Yes. Call the roll, please.
Drum roll.
Mayor Ikorst,
Aye.
Counselor Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Pendergrass, Counselor Reisdorfer,
Aye.
Counselor Spring.
aye.
Next is resolution 2025-31. Resolution approving the adoption of the 2026 City of Orinoco fee schedule.
As a comment, you gotta be a motion.
Or make a motion.
Make a motion for discussion.
Second.
I'd like to see side by side up with that one, Jason, if we could, with this year's versus next year's.
Okay. I think the only difference is, do we have any change in?
the only changes to the fee schedule were water and sewer fees. There were no other changes to the regular fee schedule from 2025.
And those are with the increases that we had this year, right, for
Those,
the water.
Yeah.
Sewer.
Water was 5% and sewer was 10%.
The increases.
Okay, then I pull back. Well, no, we're okay. So we're discussion, so we're ready to go.
Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
No, it's gotta be voice vote.
Voice vote. Keep trying to move along.
That's what we're doing.
Mayor Ikorst,
Trying to get caught up.
Aye.
Counselor Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Pendergrass,
Right, they.
Counselor Reisdorfer,
Aye.
Counselor Spring.
Aye.
Rachel, did you get that 4-1?
Yes.
Did we lose,
We got a resolution 2025-32 next.
that's just to accept the November
Right.
$894.
So I make a motion,
go ahead.
to accept the $894.12 from fire relief for this month.
Second.
Jason.
Mayor Ikorst,
That was,
32.
page 283, 2025-32.
Oh, yes.
Any other comments? Voice vote, please.
Mayor Ikorst,
Aye.
Counselor Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Reisdorfer,
Aye.
Counselor Pendergrass, Counselor Spring.
Aye.
I did not put that one together. The order was not my fault.
I see that occasionally. I usually get the middle billing.
Oh, yeah.
Messing with us.
Right.
What are we on, 33?
Yes, that's next.
Okay, the next item is the resolution 2025-33 to approve the final 2025 budget and tax levy.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-33.
Second for discussion. Thanks.
Jim?
Can I start off real quick? I just put in the numbers based off of the salary. Just an update. We are now at 43.7% tax rate, down 1.1%. Levy is at now 17.9%. We will obviously update the numbers in the resolution as well. We have the numbers set in the resolution. We know we will update those.
Would you repeat those figures you have?
Yep, so the tax rate is 43.7, which is down 1.1% from last year. The levy percentage is 17.9%. The total levy is at $1,666,091. That is just for the levy.
That was just the one change with your salary.
My salary instead of the changes.
One question, I know we cut out overtime.
Yep.
Yeah. So for like evenings, like council meetings, that would be comp time then?
Be flex time off.
Flex time
They
off?
don't get comp time because that would account for basically like same as overtime, so they would have to flex off hours.
Okay.
So, which is fine then. Some
Okay,
off.
just wanna
We'll
make
make
sure.
sure that we adjust so all city staff are 40 hours a week.
Okay. Any other comments? It's good. All the time on it.
I would like to combine them two jobs. Financial and, what was his job? I think we could save considerable money that way.
What do you mean combined?
Those, because like the financial job,
But would you just add the 0.5 to Mel's time and not do the finance one, or you would?
Pardon?
When you say combined, they're two different pay rates,
yeah, well,
so
there's two different jobs, you know, if we're budgeting is you're expecting to roll the hours of Melissa's job to full time. And then you're looking at putting on a half-time financial person. for
So
this year.
Paul, Melissa doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want those responsibilities.
I feel like just a clarification. The reason that the job I'm doing right now as the administrative assistant needs to go full-time is because that position actually requires that. The financial work that needs to happen is outside of that. So combining the two doesn't really benefit the city in workload and or savings, in my opinion.
Who's carrying the financial workload right now?
We're spreading that
All four
across
staff
all
members.
four of us as much as we are capable of doing it.
So you're saying it's impossible to eliminate that financial position? And we don't have anybody in yet?
Saying it's unreasonable. Nothing's impossible. We could just cut everything out of the budget. It's all possible, but it's not reasonable or feasible. We are a growing city. It's something that we need. We've needed since I started here. It was planned for when I first got hired on. It was in the budget and got cut for whatever reason. And again, this is something the city desperately needs. And if we've been through a forensic audit, we've got problems with a regular audit, we've got problems with finances. The fire department complains about finances, so cutting a financial position just doesn't seem responsible.
Well, it's also just adding another body that there is to the city too, which is an overhead that's gonna be carried for many years going forward.
Correct.
And, posting and seeing what would come up is again way to do that and see if it wouldn't work out that way. To find that person that would be happy to do that,
So are we firing Melvin?
Well, and we had a discussion in the budget meeting and I turned around and I complimented Mel on how well she's doing. Absolutely. And I says, why don't you do that? Because I thought she's doing a wonderful job. And she said, no. So, but I did compliment her exactly on how well she's been doing the stuff to go along with it. And I think that when you got hired, Jason, you were supposed to be the financial person that there is behind it. Okay, I think that was your job description.
That was not my job description.
It was on your title.
Yeah, this is finance, and I do part of finance.
Jason's job description was to oversee financials. Overseeing and doing it is two different things. It's clearly in three different bullet points in his contract. He oversees administrative, he oversees financials.
Well, something's
So you need staff.
something's gotta give because we're.
You're right, it does have to
We're putting
give.
on 3 extra staff. You're adding a financial person, you're adding a public works person, and then summer help on top of it. I think something's gotta give, summer help or something's gotta go. We have
People will leave because there's too much work.
we have five public works people on staff. They all know how to operate a mower.
And we got 200 homes that are coming on in a couple of years.
In a couple of years.
Couple of years,
You take-
not this year,
That's in a couple of years.
couple of years,
You know,
different.
I see the permit thing, yeah, the permits for way up in 24, but we put in how many hundred water meters, that's why the permits were so high in 2024.
Growth.
And that's why they're back in the ballpark again with what the other years have happened.
We're gonna have that growth next year, in the next couple of years.
So
But they,
which one would you cut?
but they've doubled from
Combined.
2022 is the thing. We've doubled the workload, we've increased the workload. And the city has not increased the staff to be able to cover the workload. And so we are at this breaking point, tipping point, whatever you want to call it, where we've seen so much turnover in the city, nobody can keep track of things anymore because we've gone through how many city clerks and administrators and deputy clerks and office staff because there's just so much turnover, there's so much stress and burden on these positions. It's unmanageable for people and unrealistic for them to continually work at these rates. And so that's why we are asking and have been asking for as a city to have the support from council that we need, that we see, because we're here day in and day out doing the work. We know what we need here in this office to be successful and be the best that we can for these residents. And so when we bring this, we're not bringing it lighthearted, like we just want to spend people's money. We see the need and we see what needs to be here and we're asking for that support. And so to keep coming back to this, cut everything down and just keep doing it as you have been, this is kicking the can down the road, which they've done for the last, 5 years at least. And it's not gotten the city anywhere good.
Well, as a thought, how about if we turned around and subcontracted that out and see how many hours a week that the subcontractor would be using to see if it's worthwhile as a full-time position or not?
Because they're gonna want a set number of hours each week as part of a contract, and you're gonna be paying twice, 3 times the rate you would a city employee.
But if they can get done with it in 20 hours or 15 hours instead of 40.
If we have somebody we're trying to teach a system to, and then they turn over and, leave, or we get somebody else we gotta work with within that company. I mean, there's so much back end on that it does not make any sense to me.
Well, I remember when we bought that BS&A program and we talked about it, and there were 3 different options. That was about an $80,000 most expensive option. And the idea behind that was that that's gonna take care of the person that there is behind it to be able to
We're
work.
not gonna take care of the person. That was never the idea behind it. It was the idea of that's a tool for us to use to do our jobs better and more efficient. It doesn't replace a person.
Well, you
It
claim
allows us to
we don't
do
have a
this better.
person, there's not a person there right now.
I know there's not,
But-
and we're trying to do the best we can, but we need a person there.
But do we know how well the BSNA program is actually working right now?
Ask the staff. It's phenomenal.
Well, then maybe we don't need a full-time person.
Just to piggyback off of Jason's comment about how we got here and are kicking of the can down the road. I just want to make one single comment about the admin assistant position going from the part-time to the full-time. This position was previously the deputy clerk position. That council wanted to save money and cut back to part-time and renamed it administrative assistant. What used to be in that office was a city clerk and a deputy clerk, and they were full-time. So we kicked the can down the road and we wanted to save a few dollars. We made it part-time and we changed the description so we could save money. And now we're trying to put the hours back in. It doesn't need a new title. It's worthy of the full-time position. There's an extreme amount of financial work that needs to happen. The skill for the people that are in the office for that work. We need training or we need supplemental help or we need another body. That's just how it is. So it's gotta be training, it's gotta be additional skill, or it's gotta be another body.
Any
I'd like
training?
to add that when the election years come, I'm not gonna be able to do the full accounting job that I'm doing right now. I'm gonna be very torn with my hours to election services, so I worry that that'll be difficult.
So Jim, so in your time on council, how many times have we talked about transparency for finances? That's a hot topic. I think we don't have this.
Constant.
So if we don't have a person dedicated to bring that to light, I think we're gonna continue to struggle. I think they can also help with managing the message out for residents to understand where we're spending money.
And we really don't have access to that now, so the transparency really isn't there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry, we are transparent with everything. What are we not? That's an accusation I disagree with.
I think it's more on like where, to me, it's more from a resident perspective, like what am I getting, right? We know, but if you probably ask anyone in the audience, they're like, you know, even where's my money going to for taxes? I think we just have to do a better job of here's where we're spending it and not in 300-page agendas. No one's gonna look at that.
You look at the
But-
budget, an 8-page budget, see exactly where it's spending. So I would take that as to improve a message about putting together, PR side of things of how it's being spent, sure. That's how I interpret that.
Yeah, I think residents would appreciate kind of the narrative around it because they're not gonna spend time, one, listening to city council and or probably fact finding, so they're probably calling and asking.
Which I think we've
So-
done significantly better this year than previous years. As we've taken in that information and those comments from citizens, council, from all involved to improve that message. But again, that's something we're having that finance person is able to put all that information together and put it out
Totally.
there.
Yep,
And
someone
there's-
needs to own it.
There's so much more that can be done, I agree. Cause I can go through and pick a dozen cities from across the state and look at what they're doing for their financial audit reports, and it's nowhere near what we're doing, but they have the staffing person to do it. So.
I agree.
Like you'd stay. As is, we discussed it quite a few times. It's 14 hours of discussions on, and a lot of it on that, so I'm happy with where it's at right now.
I would agree with that too. I think our 100 fund is it's what we need for going forward. And to do anything less would be some takeaways for staff as well as for citizens as well. what their expectations are of City Hall and how efficient they can run or can't run. Yes, it's tax dollars, but at the same time, having the staff now will help us responding to developers and growth and density. And I know that's a bad word in some circles, but it's what it's gonna take to pay for the sewer plant and not burden the people that stay here, that we don't get the growth. And everybody will be burdened with that, because that was not the purpose for building the plant. Is to build the plant, but our proximity to Rochester, no, I don't know what percent, 70% works in Mayo or Rochester, and I think we offer an alternative, and we are in a great position to do that. And I think that's bodes well for the city, and growth comes with city. We see that happening with the condos coming on, 2 new businesses over at Casey's, a downtown restaurant. It's all good stuff. And to stick our head in the ground and say, no, we're not gonna grow. We're not gonna hire people. That's just, one, it's not very forward thinking. It's not strategic. It's just steady as she goes. And that's what the citizens don't need. And your vote reflects that. That's fine. But,
It's a voice vote, so.
No, it's not.
That is, it's a
it's
resolution.
a resolution.
Right.
Oh, your voice, yeah, I thought it was just like.
So is there any more comments? Budget? Take the voice vote, please.
Give me 1 second, I'm updating the numbers so I can.
Oh, sure, thanks.
We'll go to solitaire.
It's online shopping. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You can see it in the window.
Amazon.
Hockey pucks.
What's the other part of this?
I love it that there's people out there.
Right?
Somebody's out there.
Oh, yeah, there's.
Just smacking away.
All day.
My kids have been
Tons.
skating every single night.
It's been great.
You guys didn't know.
You know.
We needed ours to level out a little. Places, once we got little like nasty, wet.
They probably
So we needed to like seep out and like do some self leveling.
Yeah, boning out there.
With lake ice.
They out there early this year.
Whoever came up with that name, I don't know.
Okay, so the updated numbers that we will put into the budget, under the resolution, the expenditure revenues will be at 2,172,423. Same with the expenditures. And then further down where it says the general fund levy, that will be 1,634,591. The bond 306 payment will stay the same at 31,500. And the total levy will be reduced to $1,666,091.
$1,661,000.
1,666,091.
That's the 0.43.
17.9.
That is, yeah, the tax rate will be 43.7 with a decrease from last year of 1.1%. And the levy will be down to 17.9.
Well, all in all, that stuff in the budget for this year, we shouldn't have to, with the salaries in there and the numbers for the streets and roads and the numbers for the CIP fund, we shouldn't have to increase that next year, 'cause that's already in the budget from this year. Those should stay level. And still get the same.
Well, it's a year to year, but
It'd still get the same funding, left and level.
They're gonna have that huge tax increase next
It'll be a
year.
huge tax increase next year if it's level.
And we'll see. We don't know what's gonna come with the truth and taxation for that, for property values next year either.
Well, they don't assess properties every year. It's like every second or third year they come around and say, worth more than that on you.
All right, ready?
Ready for voice vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Mayor Ikorst,
Aye.
Counselor Phillips,
Nay.
Counselor Pendergrass,
Nay.
Counselor Spring,
Aye.
Counselor Reisdorfer.
I,
Last item is a resolution 25-34. Resolution carried over unused 2025 budgets for a wage study, I guess that's right. Up to 20,000. They do this one.
No, that one didn't get put in.
Yeah,
That was a new one.
Well, it's in that new packet.
the newer packet.
Yeah. So I didn't come in.
We're gonna switch to that one.
So,
It's a pay equity one.
yeah, so this is for the pay equity we've talked about multiple times this year. Having that study done. This will be a huge benefit to the city because part of this usually is, will get us a step program put in place for all positions, grade, step, scale. So that'll take out a lot of work, when it comes to salaries and things like that each year. And it will give good guidance for new positions or anything like that as we have turnover or anything, moving forward.
Do we know what that number is yet? Is it coming forward?
For what?
Do we know what that number is that was carrying forward yet? We won't know that till after the end of the year.
Yeah, that won't be till the end of the year, but this is,
You're bringing resolution carrying.
yeah, this is to carry an X amount of dollars over to,
We don't know the number.
no, we don't know the total number, no.
Approximately 40.
This is just a specific amount for the wage study, to pay for the wage study, so we can allocate those expenses now to pay for it in 2026. We have based in the, we may not put the,
20,000.
Up to 20.
up to,
Up to 20.
Yeah.
First therefore.
I got a question. How long is that wage study good for?
usually a while, but Mike, you might be able to speak to this, because one of them is from your company. The wage study, how long they're good for. I know they're immediate right away, and then there's usually an offer to yearly to look at it for, minimal cost, just to make sure that everything is, if there's any state laws that have changed or anything like that that needs to be updated. Because once we do it, it's a maintenance thing, and then I don't know when a good time is to do a complete redo of
I
it.
thought we had done one in 2022. Didn't we do one that time around? I was just trying to think of what we're doing. And I'm just
Yeah,
questioning,
I don't know
if we spend it, how many years is it good for?
They're good for a while, Mike.
I'd say a couple cycles.
I don't know. I'm looking it up. There's different timelines
Yeah.
for different types of studies, so I'm not exactly sure.
I know from the administrators I've talked with, sorry not to interrupt you, Mike, there.
No, go ahead.
Like I said, once you get it in place, the maintenance is key. As long as you're doing kind of yearly maintenance where they look at it a little bit and go, yep, okay, everything was good. There haven't been any Minnesota law changes. Everything's fine. 5-10 years, you may do like a market study again, depending on the position. You can kind of pick and choose like, okay, it's been 5 years. The market has completely changed for, a water sewer operator. We need to look at what they're offering now if we're coming in right, or we need to adjust this.
You know what that wage study is gonna cost?
Set up to 20 is what was budgeted, right? Up to
Yeah, so we're asking for up to 20. It varies depending on the company you use, and I presented some of these last year.
Last February.
Last February. It depends on the company you use and what services you want out of it. I had one from DDA and then one from Flaherty and Hood. I think Flaherty and Hood was more encompassing. They offered a lot more. Was still under that 20,000, I think, total. But it really just depends on the company and what you're asking for them to do, because there's a lot of things they can include as extras, which are, I think, great to have, but they're not necessarily required.
If we do a wage study and we find we're overpaying people, are they gonna take a a decrease in salary. I mean,
No, but that's one of
That's what it said.
that's one of those ones where you can look at that and go, okay,
it's, I gotta ask, it's both sides of the coin, right? You know,
Yeah.
everybody thinks we're underpaid, maybe we're not compared to others.
no, absolutely, but that's where you can look at that and go, that's where it comes into play when you do your salary stuff later is we know you're 3 steps ahead of where, you know, the salary study says you may not get those additional, you may get your COLA, but you may not get additional or you know, those type of things.
I'm just asking, I mean. it's-
Yeah, and so that's where having that is gonna be a huge benefit to the city to really kind of help determine where they're at. On top of that, we're gonna be a little late to the game, but we do have due at the end of January, the study for the state to make sure we're on par with our pay stuff. Now with that, that is a very surface level. What's the position? Here's the score for that. Are you male or female in that position? Here's the score for that. This is your pay. There's the score for that. And they throw it into their big equation. It definitely does not replace doing a pay study by any means. So that's why I think using these funds is gonna be important. To be able to do that next year, do that wage study, get it professionally done, and then continue to maintain it over the years. So that we can eliminate a lot of questions and headaches, things like that.
I see that, you know, we're using unused dollars from this year. The boy, everybody sure raised Cain with me last year wanting to bring ahead the snowplow money that we didn't use the year before. I'm just pointing the fact out that we
Where's that
had
money go?
$49,000 left in our snowplow and ice removal fund from 2024. And everybody had a fit when I wanted to use some of that to bring to 2025.
I think we did learn something new in the review that we had, Andrew Fortilli look at. That was in the memo from the last budget workshop, just making clarifications on what happens to unused budget dollars at the end of the year. And how we roll them over. And the suggestion was if we want to roll over or use dollars, that we would do that by resolution. Which is that's what this is. We did identify those unused dollars. We certainly don't want the taxpayers to have to pay additional dollars in 2026. This was part of the levy from the 2025 budget residents have already paid for. We should apply those dollars versus next year saying we want to do a pay study and have to come up with the money again.
Well, it's not just for the study, so I mean, let's say that there's $100,000 left over. This is only up to 20, where's the other 80 go?
That's why I wanted.
And that's what we wanna know where that's at and what's.
So like I said, we did learn something new with Fortilli. There is another way to manage it. Manage those unused dollars. We can certainly look into that as we move through 2026 and try to identify better where to use them, where to apply them, how to carry them. What does that mean? What does that mean to the financial health of the city?
Comments about the.
Yeah, we're not sure. This is the first time we've ever done it because we were told that we could legally can do it.
Yeah, we have.
So we just need a resolution, so we know where the money is going from and going to.
Yeah.
We can do it, we need formal resolution.
Right, so, but we can do that after we know what the monies are. At the end, this, I mean, I'm not talking about the study,
Well,
or the wage.
that's where I'm not sure, because we're allocating funds from this year during this fiscal year to use in next fiscal year. Once we get into next fiscal year, it's not so much we can allocate, they end up going into a reserve. A general fund reserve is my understanding from talking with Andrew on that, correct me if I'm wrong here, where they just sit in the city as we have these extra reserve funds that weren't used, but they're just here. They're not necessarily allocated for something one way or another. So if to allocate, we need to allocate before end of year.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just, I'm with you off of that, I was just wondering.
And like I said, last year, 2024, I was 8 months in. And this is not something I was familiar with, so to answer your,
So when we bring this forward, you know, we're talking about using part of that for wage study. Do we need a resolution anytime we spend a portion of that so everybody understands where it's going?
No.
Good documentation.
We should need some kind of documentation where it's going.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have something like when we vote to approve who's doing the wage study, we know it's coming in, it'll be on there. We don't
No,
know
we're
the rest
talking with the rest of
I'm
the.
talking about with the remainder.
So this city council.
We do something in the future with.
This meeting is the last city council meeting unless you wanted to have a special meeting before the end of the year. That this type of resolution for carryover dollars could be approved. As soon as we get into January, we cannot be taking 2025 dollars to apply to 2026. It's unfortunate we didn't learn about this new rule until nearly the end of the year. But like I said, it's something we can look at over the period of next year to talk about how do we use unused dollars.
So they go into a reserve fund, you say.
It's just there. It's,
It goes
Not a
into back
separate
into the
fund.
cash operating balance
yeah,
for the city.
I like to think this is not gonna be a new standard operating procedure because everybody
No.
should be, use their budget in the budget year.
Correct.
And this shouldn't be a,
and this money comes from leftover funds from salaries for the two positions that weren't utilized. And I think it's appropriate to use salary funds to pay for a wage study. I wouldn't ask this for, something else outside of that.
And I'm not,
Yeah, I'm just making clarify, like, so this is not let's not spend anything at the end of the year, let's just carry it over, like, that's not what we're
No, no,
doing,
no,
and
no,
that's
no,
what we
we-
don't want to happen, because the taxpayers, we ask for the money from the taxpayers for certain reasons, we should be using those budgets up to zero for those reasons, because that's what we asked for them. So really, every year, there should be minimal carryover. So,
Yes, okay.
okay.
that makes sense.
Okay. Is
Any other comments? Seeing none, let's do a voice vote.
Mayor Ikorst,
Aye.
Counselor Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Pendergrass,
Aye.
Counselor Spring,
Aye.
Counselor Reisdorfer.
Right.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Any comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a Merry Christmas. All the good.
9 o'clock, guys, come on.
I'm 2 hours better than last year.
I'm shocked and so proud.
It's because of the 11 o'clock meetings a month ago.
It's crazy.
We hit the bars.
Yeah, you never
Yeah.
know.
Sisters,
You're around
would it be reasonable to either January, February, go down to March, look at unused 25 funds, see where what we ended up